Sento was an ugly dipshit with the lowest IQ in anime history, too dumb to realize his crush wanted to clap him. However, his mediocre life became interesting when he started seeing invisible flying girls from an alternate universe, and he clapped them instead. The anime begins with a charger girl named Plug, scouting Tokyo for depressed people with her Super Saiyan scooter. She soon discovers an office drone with a C, the lowest depression level in their database. Instantly, she changes into her tracksuit and yanks a plug from an electricity pole. As the office worker buys a green tea, she seizes the opportunity and swoops in like the American Air Force, penetrating the guy with the plug. Unfortunately, her electric tail flashes in the wrong direction, exposing her rice cakes to the entire universe. Later, Plug's boss scolds her for destroying her suit and wrecking company tech, informing her that the damage expenses will be deducted from her salary. Plug begs her to spare her paycheck, claiming she just ordered a bunch of summer wear from Shein. Ignoring her loudmouth, Pulse yells at Plug to keep her worthless existence out of sight until she earns her pay, forcing Plug to scurry back to her room like a cockroach. Afterward, she returns to Earth but crashes into an ugly loser and his girlfriend, because she forgot to turn on stealth mode. She explains that while humans may not be able to see them, they can definitely touch them. As she swings on a pole like a clock hand, she scans the city for depressed people, but Leonardo Luck decides to ghost her call today. Meanwhile, Sento is taking out the trash when he spots Plug phasing through the wall like Shadowcat. Thinking she's the Grim Reaper coming for his soul, he smacks her with a bat. Using her hand to ease the pain, she asks the moron what's his problem, but she's more curious if he can see her, to which he confirms. Just then, Sento's sister Hakone and her friend Iono appear behind him like a Pokemon, asking what he's doing with a bat. Iono suggests he's swinging the bat around to let off steam since he hasn't clapped anything in decades.
Stop it. Get some help.
However, Sento points out the girl he's poking the bat at. But the only thing the girls see is a sideburn maniac playing with thin air. Changing the subject, Hakone asks if he's finishing up to go home, which he denies, claiming he's filling in the space for a lazy moron tonight on the night shift. Disappointing Hakone, who was hoping they'd walk home together. So, she offers to cook until he returns, but he assures her she doesn't have to go the extra mile for a rat like him. As soon as he gets home, he'll make dinner for them. At that moment, Plug discovers Hakone's depression level has hit C, and she yanks out a plug, but Sento smacks her into a container, creating a dent like when an overpowered anime character punches someone. At night, Plug introduces herself to Sento and gives him the full details on everything, but Sento isn't buying her crap when she almost impales his sister with a giant plug. He assures her his sister is doing fine, but she points out that her life checker scooter read a C on the brat, a level she can't ignore. And Hakone might even kill herself if she doesn't help her out. Sento, on the other hand, doubts his sister will jump off a building and kiss Florkun, despite her losing their mom a few years back, and their dad being out all the time collecting milk. His train of thought is interrupted by Plug, who helps herself by turning on the television to watch Kodomo no Jiken, excited she found an anime that couldn't have been made today. But Sento cuts her movie night short by almost isekaiing her with his guitar. As he leaves, he warns Plug to stay away from his sister while she messes the floor with yellow liquid. He then joins Hakone, who's preparing dinner, and takes the job from her, a job she really wants to do. But this moron wants to do everything, which makes her feel useless and want to die. The next day, while Hakone walks to school, Plug monitors her declining depression level. Thinking, despite Sento's warning not to charge her, the clown has no idea of the danger Hakone is in. Just then, Hakone is greeted by some unpopular girls who mention the most popular boy in school. While Plug suggests she might not look depressed, but something's clearly bothering her. For the entire day, Plug stalks Hakone like the stalker she is until sundown, but she still can't figure out what's causing Hakone's depression. When Hakone gets home, she's welcomed by darkness and a love you note left by Sento beside her cold dinner, but she crushes the note. Sometime later, Hakone starts to miss her mom, recalling the funeral day when Sento promised to take care of everything, hugging her. Back to the present, Hakone thinks that despite her mom and dad being away, she's not alone because she has Sento, but the guy keeps acting like a maid robot. And she fears if he keeps overworking himself, he'll soon join Neji Hyuga. This makes Plug realize Hakone's depression is caused by that useless moron Sento. So, she peekaboos him at work, only to receive 4 smacks instead of a "you almost gave me a heart attack." On his way home, Plug begs Sento to let her tell him something important and he gives her 1 minute. Desperate to catch the new anime premiering tonight, Plug informs him that everything he's doing for Hakone is actually making her depressed, because she thinks he'll overwork himself to death. But Sento suggests he doesn't understand. Why would Hakone be sad when all he's doing is protecting her? In order to save Hakone, Plug yells at him to make Hakone do things for herself, but he ignores Plug's cries, and instead sends her blasting off like Team Rocket for spying on his sister in the bath. At home, Sento calls out to Hakone, but no response, until Plug finds a note left by Hakone telling Sento she's gone to see her mom. Remembering Hakone staring at a skyscraper earlier, Plug takes Sento to the location, where Hakone slowly walks to the pinnacle to kiss Road Kun. To Plug's surprise, a power plant is nearby, explaining that recharging someone takes enormous electricity, but first, she must suit up.
Fire!
Her new suit causes Sento to blush like hell, since the work uniform she claims it to be is literally body paint. Their fanservice marathon is interrupted by Hakone as she moves closer and closer to the edge. Sento rushes upstairs, while Plug makes a stop at the power plant, determined not to let Hakone become another isekai adventurer. When Sento reaches the last floor, he calls out to Hakone, who responds, but loses her balance falling to her death. Luckily, Sento borrowed Barry Allen's powers earlier and catches her, though only her slides become an isekai victim. He tells her to hold on, Big Brother will pull her up like water from a well, but she orders him to let go, or he'll join her in her adventurer journey in another world. It seems like the end for Hakone, until Plug impales her with the giant plug of thick juicy white electricity, changing Hakone's mind on death. She swings like Tarzan, propelling her and Sento onto the floor below. After, Hakone thanks Sento for always working himself ragged for her, but she wants him to stop, yelling at him to make her do stuff too, because not doing anything makes her feel useless. That moment, Sento realizes he's been an idiot all this time, and suggests they take turns doing the chores, making her happy. The next day, Sento tells Hakone to get home early since it's her turn to make dinner, making Iono think the duo met God and are hiding the details. So, she digs into Hakone's rice cakes for the gossip. Meanwhile, Plug flies over the city like a superhero, sad because Pulse scolded her for turning in her report late. Sento then runs on her mind, and she pulls up to his house uninvited, only to see a scene straight out of a cultural anime. The next day, on their way to school, Hakone tells Iono about the night before when she accidentally entered Sento's room without permission, making him angry. Noticing Iono smiling at the mention of Sento, Hakone teases her about it, asking if she's thinking about someone she's related to. But Iono only blushes instead of admitting she's falling in love with Sento. Elsewhere, Plug is watching another anime that definitely couldn't have been made today, when she gets a notification about a sea level nearby. At the location, she scans the area for a power supply. But another Charger girl, Arrestor, seizes the opportunity and steals her target. Enraged, Plug yells in Arrestor's ears, demanding an answer as to why she stole her meal, especially since she wasn't even assigned to this location. Arrestor just reminds the snail of the famous saying that the early bird catches the worm, claiming she's just doing her job. She says Pulse ordered her to balance the sections, since Plug apparently does more damage than good. With that, Arrestor blasts off to her next target while Plug calls her a four-eyed hog, yelling that everyone has down days. At the same time, Iono is at the mall, coming up with a romantic getaway plan for Sento, while Plug searches for her next target in the background. Finally, she finds one and is about to swoop in like an eagle, but Arrestor is the bigger eagle who catches the worm. Worried and desperate, Plug vows to catch everything after this, but Arrestor makes her look like a normal human up against the Ant King from Solo Leveling. Later, Plug punches Arrestor in the face as she phases through a wall, excited that she actually hit the target instead of a random object for the first time in her life. Arrestor asks the jealous wimp why she punched her beautiful face, but Plug says it's better than getting hit by a bat. Arrestor warns her to stay out of her way, but Plug asks how she can do that when this four eyes in front of her is stealing all her targets. So, Arrestor tells her to work harder, confused why the higher-ups gave a loser girl this massive area to patrol. Hearing this, Plug stays silent, knowing deep down Arrestor is right. Arrestor was about to scold her until Seraph of the End, Season 3 finally drops, but her life checker detects a sea level walking by, a person she charged a year ago. Sadly, her shift ends just as she's about to charge him, and she tells Plug goodbye, boasting that she doesn't have to go into overtime like she does. That night, Plug floats through the streets like a depressed cow, coming across her favorite anime series, gushing over magical girls, but she gets distracted and slams her face into a pole. Meanwhile, Sento's slave driver instructs him to clean around the back when he's done, just as Plug phases through the wall and takes a head injury instead of a hello. Realizing his boss saw him hitting thin air like a lunatic, the moron grabs Plug and runs like God just returned to Earth. Outside, he scolds Plug for always popping up unexpectedly, but she tells him it's not her fault since she can't see through walls. Seeing her in a bad mood, Sento asks about it, but Plug acts like the perfect ziplocked mouth. So Sento guesses maybe she screwed up or some coworker on Naruto Sage Mode level bitched her out, and Plug's face says it all without her saying anything. Afterward, she tells Sento this charger girl crap might not be cut out for her. Sento doesn't have an answer, but he points out that if they keep charging someone who's under abuse, it's just a band-aid. Because, if the abuser stays in the picture, the victim will stay depressed. In the background, Plug huffs and puffs like the big bad wolf, ready for this sideburns pig. Until she shoves her face close to his like she's about to kiss him, but instead, she scolds him for acting like a know-it-all, calling him a dumb human who doesn't understand anything about their work. The stupid girl accidentally slaps Sento, and he sends her flying into space without the Blue Origin to colonize Mars before Elon Musk. Meanwhile, Iono slowly approaches Sento's location with a love letter, but when she finally musters the courage to deliver it, she sees the maniac fighting thin air and crawls back into her hole like a crab. Later, while Plug floats in the sky like Goku, she thinks about how Sento is a useless jerk who forgot it was her charge that saved his sister. However, she remembers working with Sento to charge Hakone and how she never saw the core issue, until he vented his anger on her. When she found out the real reason for Hakone's depression, she and Sento worked together to help her. Snapping back to reality, Plug wonders if she can help people on her own, until she hears Monkey D. Luffy whisper, "If you don't take risks, you can't create a future," giving her the motivation to push forward. She switches to her other suit and locates the dude Arrestor pointed out, the one she charged a year ago. She chills with the dude until his night class is over, following him home like a lost puppy, where she discovers the toxic life that's causing his depression. His parents feed him trash meals, and his siblings are always rooting for him to score 100 on every test, even though he always fails. In his room, he wonders why his parents didn't let him get a job, since all he does is fail. If he bombs this next exam, that'll be 4 years wasted in college. Meanwhile, Plug realizes that if she had charged him earlier, it might have led to destruction. She thinks maybe Sento was right, just charging someone like that isn't the solution. The next day, Plug follows the dude on his way to the exams, convinced that he'll start thinking about his future once she charges him. But the dude switches tracks like a train, panicking Plug. She shouts at him not to give up, even though she's crying to the wind. The guy, however, decides to smoke a cigarette at the park instead of smoking those grades. Determined not to waste time on an exam he's bound to zero like GTA San Andreas. Plug, hiding in the bushes, mutters that she never thought she'd encounter this situation, thinking who the guy is for even smoking for. He's still just a college student. Just then, Arrestor startles her. She tells Plug the guy failed 3 times already and is 21, old enough to make his own decisions. With an ogre voice, Plug asks Arrestor why she's here. And Arrestor explains that university students are drained of energy on exam days, so today is like a frog surrounded by a million flies for her. As she's about to charge her 4-eyed twin, Plug stops her, claiming that if she doesn't wait for the right opportunity, she's just putting a band-aid on the guy. Suddenly, his depression levels begin to drop, and Arrestor pushes Plug aside to make the charge, but Plug traps her like an insect in a spider web. While Arrestor makes happy noises, Plug tells her the dude has feelings just like them. He might be a target for charger girls, but he's a family member to someone else. Meanwhile, the guy gets up to kill time at a cafe when a good luck charm falls from his pocket. Plug panics, thinking he's about to step on it. But to her surprise, the guy picks it up and she uses the opportunity, stepping on 4 Eyes' face to recharge her twin. After his battery hits 100, the guy looks around in shock, forgetting he came to the park by himself and not that aliens brainwashed him. Looking at his watch, he realizes it's 5 minutes until the exam starts and storms off. Plug starts celebrating, happy she nailed it. But Arrestor is not happy that Plug stepped on her face, ready to plug a knife into Plug's rice cake. However, Plug keeps her attention on the happy dude running off, until Arrestor points out the harsh truth. They only get paid to charge people, not to wait for the right moment or get to know them. She tells Plug she only charged 1 person in 2 days, and that means her bank account is shrinking. When Arrestor leaves, Plug reflects that she might not charge hundreds of people like Arrestor, but for that one dude she did charge, she changed everything. She refuses to believe the good luck charm fell from his pocket by accident. She believes it was his parents calling out to him to do his best. Meanwhile, Plug plays on Arrestor's mind like a piano as she flies, calling her an idiot. 4 Eyes then decides to scout out the family restaurant Sento works at, running into him. He slaps her away like Chris Gale, after they just stare at each other for 1 hour. Hours later, Arrestor regains consciousness to a smiling Plug, who informs her she found her passed out on a tree and brought her back here. Plug warns Aresta not to do shit like that and says she owes her one now, before leaving. Looking into a mirror, Aresta realizes she looks ugly as fuck with this bandage on her forehead. While in the shower, Aresta recalls the sideburns punk who almost hospitalized her, calling herself an idiot for screwing up in a parallel world. On her way to God knows where, Aresta comes across Plug sulking that her paycheck sucks this month, crying she'll have to start eating garbage to survive. Laughing, Aresta tells Plug it's her goddamn fault for always fucking around like a bitch instead of working. Plug then discovers it's this four-eyed hag who ratted, and Aresta explains it's against work policy to prolong charging a person once their depression level hits C. However, Plug yells at her that she was there too, so why isn't her paycheck getting fucked? But Aresta ignores her, saying she deserves punishment. Afterwards, Pulse summons Aresta like Gamakichi, telling her she should be punished like Plug because she was there and never tried to stop her. Luckily, Pulse says her pay won't be cut but demands to know what's the difference between her and Plug's. Bluntly, Aresta says Plug is a squid brain idiot and she's intelligent. So, since she's intelligent and Plug is an idiot, Pulse assigns her to supervise Plug, because she'll make the same mistakes again by being an idiot. Once out of Pulse's sight, Aresta lets out her anger on the floor over the fact she'll be babysitting Plug. Meanwhile, Plug floats in the sky calling Aresta an ugly fuckhead she hates, before realizing what she did was actually against work policy, and she didn't ask for permission. Later, Plug sneaks into Sento's house to watch gushing over magical girls. Just then, he pulls up on her, asking what she's doing in his house. But she ignores him, enraging him, so he smacks her to the other side of the galaxy. Outside, Aresta pulls up after discovering Plug is inside, thinking she'll just fuck with her until she goes mad and resign. Inside, Plug sees an unconscious Plug covered in yellow liquid, but Sento quickly senses her presence and knocks her with a bat like Pedro Martinez. Sometime later, Aresta wakes up with her head hurting like hell, uttering the same guy got her again. She assumes he got Plug too, but Plug just smiles. Noticing the same bat that smacked her, she tries touching it, but her hand phases through it. Stunned, Aresta wonders how the fuck she can't touch it but it's able to blast her off like NASA. Suddenly, Sento walks in, making her look around like this guy who just landed from space. She asks Sento if he can see her. He answers her question with an ice bag on her forehead, and she finally realizes this ugly douchebag is the cause. Anything he touches becomes tangible to them. Sento then apologizes, saying he tends to go overboard whenever he feels something weird. Fuck introducing herself. Aresta immediately makes her way to Pulse to report Sento. But Plug stops her, telling her to calm down. However, Aresta is determined to report Sento, and he asks if he's the problem. Aresta informs him that once in stealth mode, not even Leonardo Watch's eyes of God can see them, but for some reason, he can. This is a problem she must tell her superior about so they can figure this shit out, telling Plug she'll be in deeper shit once she files the report. Sento tells her to stop being harsh on Plug. People like her who love acting like the main character and ain't shit really piss him off. Ignoring him, Aresta says it's none of his business, and a maniac who greets people with a bat to the face shouldn't be telling anyone to be nice. Enraged, Sento prepares to punch the bitch, but Plug stops him, telling him to ignore 4i. Still, Sento tells Aresta she's just another charger girl who charges depressed people, which even an idiot like Natsu can do. This angers Aresta, and she informs Sento she's been Employee of the Month 4 years in a row, collecting more awards than Rentaro collects baddies for his harem. So, an intelligent girl like her shouldn't be compared with Plug. Just then, Sento challenges her to a competition. If he wins, she doesn't report Plug to their superior, and if she wins, he'll buy her an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Aresta accepts his challenge, and Plug thinks Sento is doing this shit for her, but he assures her he's doing it to humiliate the bitch. The competition turns out to be who can discover the most depressed targets, time limit 2 hours, and the winner is whoever locates the most targets. However, Plug points out it's kinda unfair for Sento because Aresta is using advanced technology like the Predator, and Sento doesn't have shit. But Sento tells her he's okay, since he's the one who came up with the idea in the first place. Talking about advanced technology, Plug orders Aresta to turn off her automatic sensor, an automatic sensor Sento has no idea about, so Plug explains it's a device used to find people like Ken Kaneki. With that, the duo heads out like the Paw Patrol, while Plug yells the famous Gurren Lagann line, "Believe in the Plug who believes in you." Finding himself at a train station, Sento uses the Life Checker scooter to find targets, but Lucky Linda decides to dump his 1-minute ass today. At the same time, Aresta is picking up targets like how anteaters pick up ants, convinced she's definitely leaving Sento in the dust. Desperate, Sento tries to locate a target, thinking if he doesn't get them quick, he'll surely lose. Realizing he's relying too much on the Life Checker scooter, which isn't doing shit for him, Sento tries to remember how Hakone was so he can use that as a guide to find depressed people. Awakening his god vision, he instantly discovers a depressed teenager whose boyfriend just dumped her for Akino Hajime. Back to Aresta, she's also finding it difficult to locate targets, finally realizing what Sento realized hours ago, that she's depending on the life checker scooter too much. She tries to remember how Superman found shit he couldn't see, and instantly she finds a target, while Sento finds more too. Later, Plug announces the winner is Sento, shocking Aresta, who accuses him of cheating because there's no way a beginner could clap her this hard. However, Sento assures the bitch he didn't cheat. Instead of depending on the Super Saiyan scooter, he tapped into his god vision and found targets. Still, Aresta refuses to accept defeat, falling on her knees as she floods the place with tears. This four-eyed OnlyFans star who was talking tough breaks down like a bitch, and Plug snaps her photo to show everyone the crybaby under this pretender, calling the way she cries cute. Sento tells Aresta she was just off track because she turned off her automatic sensor, which she's used to, making her blush. He says they can have another match in an isekai world, and with a blushing face, she tells him to promise. Meanwhile, Plug informs them she knows of a place nearby with cheap rent since they're acting so romantic, but Aresta wants Plug's head for snapping that ridiculous picture of her. The crazy bitches fight like two slut dogs, while Sento tries to tell them it's getting late. Don't they have work? But it goes in one ear and out the next. He was going to leave them to rip each other apart until they knock a stone into his forehead, making him smack both of them. Sometime later, Aresta wakes again, and Plug informs her she was out for 3 hours, the 4th time today. Aresta, with her delusional brain, thought Sento took her to his room and cared for her like his wife, but Plug informs her she was passed out under the tree. Plug then reminds Aresta of the bet, and she promises not to report her. In return, she tells her everything that happened with Sento, making Plug wonder what flew into Aresta's head all of a sudden. Unbeknownst to her, Aresta has fallen in love with Sento, thinking she'll have to keep a closer eye on him from now on.